Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be looking at the origins of life,
Ooh,
but through a pretty unique lens.
okay.
We're going to be looking at it through the lens of information theory.
Interesting.
And the paper we're going to be looking at today is called Information Theory of Abiogenesis.
All right.
So if you've ever wondered how life arose from non-living matter,
Yeah.
this is going to be a really fascinating deep dive for you.
It's a question that's really, it's baffled scientists for centuries.
Right.
I mean, how do you go from just this soup of chemicals to something as complex as a cell?
Exactly. And so this paper was written by Alexander Onimus.
Okay.
And just as a side note, this guy has over 600 publications.
Wow.
So,
He's been busy.
yeah, he's been busy.
He's definitely got some ideas.
And one of the ideas he's exploring in this paper is that information might be the missing piece of the puzzle.
That's right. And it's not just about, like, the right chemicals being there,
Mm-hmm.
but it's about the specific arrangement.
Yeah.
And the instructions that they carry.
So it's not just the building blocks of life, but it's
Yeah.
like the blueprint.
Yeah.
It's the code that tells those building blocks how to assemble.
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
So if you imagine a phenotype,
Okay.
which is like the observable characteristics of an organism,
Right.
so like its appearance or its behavior,
Yeah.
the phenotype is like the result of the information encoded in its genes,
Okay.
like in DNA.
Yeah.
So you can think of DNA as like a set of instructions
Uh-huh.
for building and maintaining that phenotype.
Okay.
And so the information theory suggests that understanding this information,
Yeah.
this code, is really key to understanding how life began.
Okay, so I'm starting to see how this all connects. But how does this theory actually help us understand the process of abiogenesis?
Well, one of the implications is that we might actually be able to engineer life by creating the right informational code.
Whoa, hold on, back up.
Yeah.
You're saying like we could
Potentially.
create life.
Yeah. So in another paper,
Right.
Amimus actually explores this idea
Okay.
where he proposes this hypothetical process
Mm-hmm.
for like replicating a deceased person's phenotype
Okay.
using AI and 3D printing with stem cells.
So like, are we talking about bringing people back from the dead here?
Well, it's a bold concept, but
Yeah.
it's more of a thought experiment, really,
right.
to illustrate the power of understanding biological information.
Mm-hmm.
So what he's suggesting is that you could use AI to map out the individual's phenotype
Okay.
and then use that information to 3D print a biological replica.
Whoa.
It's a very complex process,
Yeah.
but the underlying principle is that with the right information,
Mm-hmm.
we could theoretically recreate a living organism.
That is mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy concept.
It really makes you question what life even is.
Yeah.
But does this focus on replicating phenotypes kind of take us away from the question of how life actually began naturally?
That's a good point. But I think it really highlights the importance of information in the context of abiogenesis.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that life isn't just like a random collection of molecules,
Right.
but a highly ordered system driven by information.
So the information theory is really challenging us to think about life in a new way.
Yeah, absolutely.
But how does this theory compare to like the more traditional
Right.
scientific explanations for the origins of life?
So there's two main hypotheses that scientists have been exploring.
Okay.
One is the hydrothermal vent hypothesis.
I remember learning about this in school.
Yeah.
They're like underwater volcanoes, right?
Exactly.
Spewing out chemicals and stuff.
Yeah, so they create this unique environment
Right.
rich in chemicals and energy.
Right.
And some scientists believe that could have been the perfect cradle for life.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. And what's the other hypothesis?
The other one is the hot spring hypothesis.
Okay.
And this one suggests that protocells,
Protocells.
yeah, so those are like the precursors to cells,
Okay.
could have formed in freshwater hot springs.
Interesting.
Yeah, so on land.
Okay.
And these environments are also rich in the basic building blocks of life.
Uh-huh.
And these fluctuating temperatures could have driven the assembly of those blocks into more complex structures.
So we've got these deep ocean vents and volcanic hot
Of course.
springs, both really fascinating possibilities.
Yeah.
Does the information theory contradict these hypotheses, or can they all coexist?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I don't think it necessarily contradicts them,
Okay.
but it adds another layer of complexity to them.
How so?
So both the hydrothermal vent and hot spring hypotheses,
Yeah.
they focus on the environmental conditions
So,
and chemical reactions that could have led to the formation of the first biomolecules.
right.
The information theory comes in and says,
Huh.
okay, you've got these building blocks,
Yeah.
but how did they get arranged in such a specific way
Right.
to create this self-replicating functional system? It's about understanding the instructions that guided those early molecules to assemble into something that we recognize as life.
So it's like the information theory is saying it's not just about the ingredients, it's about the recipe.
Exactly.
I like that.
It highlights the importance of information as like a fundamental principle in the origins of life.
This is all so incredibly fascinating.
Yeah.
And it seems like we've only just scratched the surface of this topic.
There's so much more to explore.
Yeah.
And I think the information theory of abiogenesis offers a really intriguing framework for understanding the emergence of life both here on Earth
Yeah.
and potentially elsewhere in the universe.
You mentioned life elsewhere.
Yeah.
That brings us to a whole other realm of possibilities.
All other can of worms.
I'm dying to hear about how the search for extraterrestrial life connects to all of this.
Well, that's where things get even more exciting.
Oh boy.
But I think we should dive into that after a quick break.
Saying good.
Stay with us.
So how does the search for extraterrestrial life connect to the information theory of abiogenesis?
Well, it all comes down to understanding what conditions are necessary for life to arise.
Okay.
Like if we can pinpoint the key ingredients,
Yeah.
both in terms of environment, but also in terms of like the necessary information,
Information, okay.
then we can start looking for similar conditions
Yeah.
on other planets and moons.
So we're basically using what we've learned about the origins of life on Earth as a guide
Yeah,
to search for life elsewhere.
We're looking for what scientists call biosignatures,
Biosignatures, I think.
which are clues that could indicate the presence of past or present life.
So what would those be like?
They could be anything from like the chemical composition of an atmosphere to
Uh-huh.
geological formations that suggest biological activity.
So let's say we found like evidence of organic molecules on Mars or signs of hydrothermal vents on Europa.
Yeah.
Would that be like a smoking gun for extraterrestrial life?
Not necessarily. So finding organic molecules is exciting,
Yeah.
but it's not definitive proof of life.
Right.
Because these molecules can also form
Uh-huh.
through abiotic processes.
Abiotic processes meaning
Meaning they don't require life to exist.
Oh, okay.
So the key is to look for patterns
Okay.
and combinations of biosignatures that are difficult to explain
Yeah.
without invoking biological processes.
It's like being a detective looking for multiple pieces of evidence
That's a great analogy.
that all point to the same conclusion.
Exactly. And that's why understanding the information theory is so important in this context,
Okay.
because it helps us understand what kind of information we should be looking for.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. So imagine we find a planet
Yeah.
with an atmosphere that's rich in oxygen.
Okay.
That's a potential biosignature.
Right, because oxygen is often produced by living organisms.
Exactly. But if we also find complex organic molecules
Yeah.
with a very specific arrangement,
Okay.
a pattern that suggests like a coded message,
Oh.
that would be even more compelling evidence.
So it's not just about finding the building blocks.
Right.
But it's about finding evidence of the blueprint,
Exactly.
the information that guides those blocks to create life.
Precisely. And that's why the search for extraterrestrial life is so intertwined
Yeah.
with our understanding of abiogenesis.
That's
The
right.
more we learn about how life began on Earth,
Right.
the better equipped we are to find it elsewhere.
So what are some of the most promising places where scientists are looking for signs of life beyond Earth?
We mentioned Europa earlier.
Yeah. What makes that moon so special?
Europa is one of Jupiter's moons,
Okay.
and it's covered in this thick layer of ice.
Mm-hmm.
But scientists believe that there's a vast ocean of liquid water beneath that ice,
Really?
potentially containing more water than all the oceans on Earth combined.
Wow. That's incredible. And water is essential for life as we know it.
Right?
And not only that,
Yeah.
there's evidence to suggest that Europa's ocean could be heated by tidal forces from Jupiter,
Creating hydrothermal vents.
like the ones we find on Earth.
Exactly. So you have water, energy,
Wow.
and potentially even the chemical building blocks for life.
Sounds like a pretty good recipe.
It's definitely a very tantalizing place to
Right.
look for extraterrestrial life.
What about Enceladus? I
Enceladus.
remember hearing about that one too.
That's another icy moon, but this one orbits Saturn.
Well, yeah.
It's smaller than Europa,
Mm.
but it's also thought to have a subsurface ocean. And what makes Enceladus particularly interesting
Yeah.
is that it has these massive geysers.
Geysers
Yeah.
shooting out into space?
Yeah, that erupt from its south polar region.
Whoa, so they're spewing out stuff into space.
Yeah, so these geysers are spewing out water vapor and organic molecules.
So we can sample that.
Yeah, which scientists have been able to sample using spacecraft.
Wow, so it's like Enceladus is handing us clues
Yeah,
about what's lurking beneath its icy shell.
it's pretty amazing.
That's wild. Okay, so we got these two icy moons with potential subsurface oceans.
Yeah.
Are there any other places in our solar system
Yeah.
that are on the radar for astrobiologists?
There's Titan,
Titan.
Saturn's largest moon. It's a very unique world
Okay.
with a dense atmosphere
Uh-huh.
and lakes and rivers.
Lakes and rivers of water.
Not of water.
What are they made of?
They're made of liquid methane and ethane.
Whoa, hold on.
Yeah.
Liquid methane.
Titan is so cold
Okay.
that these hydrocarbons, which are gases on Earth,
Right.
exist as liquids on Titan.
So could there be like some form of life swimming around in those methane lakes?
That's a question that scientists are actively investigating.
I bet.
So life as we know it needs liquid water, but it's possible that other forms of life could exist that use different solvents like methane.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So we could be talking about life forms that are completely different
Yeah,
from anything we've ever imagined.
exactly. And that's what makes the search for extraterrestrial life so exciting.
Yeah.
It's not just about finding another version of ourselves out there.
Wow.
It's about expanding our understanding of what life is and how it can manifest in the universe.
I love that. It's a reminder that we should never limit our thinking
Absolutely.
to just what we already know.
The universe is full of surprises.
This has been such an incredible deep dive so far.
It has.
We've covered so much ground, from the theoretical foundations of the information theory
Yeah.
to the possibility of alien life in methane lakes.
It's pretty mind-blowing.
I'm eager to hear what else we can glean from all of this.
Well, I think this exploration has given us a lot to think about.
Yeah,
Maybe we should pause here and let our listeners digest all this amazing information.
it really is. I mean, thinking about the potential for life on other worlds is just, it's exciting and humbling at the same time.
It is. It makes you realize just how vast and complex the universe is.
Absolutely. And, you know, when we combine this search for extraterrestrial life with those concepts from the information theory, it really opens up a whole new dimension of thought.
It does. The information theory really challenges us to consider how information is like this fundamental role
Right.
in the origins and the evolution of life wherever it might exist.
So could there be like different forms of information out there?
That's a great question.
Like, you know, we were talking about Titan with its methane lakes.
Right.
Could there be like a completely different biological code
Yeah.
that drives life there?
It's certainly possible. I mean, our understanding of life
Yeah.
is based on what we've observed here on Earth,
Right.
which relies on DNA as the carrier of genetic information.
Of course.
But who's to say that other forms of life couldn't use different molecules or even different mechanisms
Right.
to store and transmit information?
Yeah. It's incredible to think about all the possibilities.
It is.
And it really highlights how much we still don't know about the universe and the potential for life out there.
Absolutely. And I think that's what makes this whole field of study so captivating. It's full of mystery and wonder, and it constantly pushes us to expand our understanding of what's possible.
This deep dive has been an absolutely incredible journey.
It has.
We started with, you know, how did life even begin?
Right.
Then we explored that fascinating concept of information as like a key ingredient.
Yeah.
And then we went into the realm of extraterrestrial life and talked about the potential for these life forms that could be vastly different from anything we know.
It's been a whirlwind tour through some of the most cutting-edge ideas in science.
It really has. And I think it's safe to say that the search for the origins of life
Mm-hmm.
and the search for extraterrestrial life are just like deeply intertwined.
They really are.
They both push us to ask these fundamental questions
Yeah,
about what it means to be alive, where life can exist, and how it might manifest in the universe.
absolutely.
And maybe most importantly, it reminds us to just stay curious,
Yes.
to keep exploring,
Yeah.
and never stop asking questions.
Because who knows what incredible discoveries are out there waiting for us.
Well, thank you so much for guiding us through this deep dive.
It's been my pleasure.
Your expertise and insights have been so valuable.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
And to all of our listeners out there, thank you for joining us on this fascinating exploration.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
If you're interested in learning more, be sure to check out the source material.
Yeah.
We'll have all the links in the show notes.
Definitely worth a read.
And until next time, keep those minds curious and keep exploring the world around you.